Yeah, there you go.
Oh, now we can hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
There you go. There
brilliant,
you go.
brilliant. Great to have you with us, John. Thank you very much. If you crack on and share your presentation, then we'd love to see what you've got for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. And it's quite scary when you talk about 19 years experience. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, and just referring to what you were just mentioning there, that it has been quite a hectic year with us, and I think the aviation industry in general, it's basically turned us on our head, and it's processes that we've needed over the last year were non-existent 14 months ago. Customer demand and customer sentiment and advocacy has completely changed in this industry. Now, I wouldn't say that within aviation itself that is something that doesn't always happen. I've worked in telco and retail, and just going back to Fani and Martin's kind of examples in the previous presentations, when you move into aviation, it's pretty much the most emotional kind of customer experience that you can imagine. And my 5 years with Easyjet itself has seen, I think the first 6 months I sat in my desk, and every day was incredibly different. So when it comes to customer experience, and this is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, customer experience has to be handled in a slightly different way, because ultimately we are incredibly transactional, and our customer journey isn't the same as a subscription-based model, whether that be telco or a kind of a television subscription or anything like that. Even though we have regular flyers, I would say on average, most airlines is the average propensity to fly for the customers that we do fly is around a year to 18 months. So to be able to retain that loyalty in a very price sensitive market is very, very difficult. And something I've been working on over the last kind of 5 years it has been around how we start to kind of use that best practice from those more subscription-based models to actually use the data that we do know about the customers to try and enhance the customer experience and trying to kind of bring that loyalty in, but also make sure that when we do get someone to fly with us, that we make sure that that experience is exactly what the brand kind of expects to be. So as Richard just mentioned, I look after customer services and experience, so the service experience journey as well. My operation runs across 7 different languages. We've got sites with our partners and in-house across the world. Our main hub is in Cape Town, which has seen its own kind of challenges over the last year, but they're just an amazing an amazing site. And we have about 2,500 FT now. If I look at some of the speakers today, it's probably a little bit smaller than those guys have got. But for an airline, we have to be incredibly flexible, and we do have a lot of legacy systems, because when you look at the system itself that we use for reservations, and again, most airlines are like this, it's very challenging to actually swap out because you've got kind of ongoing bookings going through. So our frontline agents are very, very important to us, and we have to invest so much more time in inducting and keeping them fresh. So that's the reason why that value is there, and it works very well. Current setup, I split my customer journey between 3 different journey points. So pre-flight, which is everything from acquisition, so where the ticket is bought, right the way through to having to change, or maybe some, as you probably would have seen yourselves over the last year, some changes to your flight a lot before your flight was going to happen. And I would say at the moment, our contact rates are around kind of 30% on there. Another 30% is on the day, where bad things can happen on the day, and this is where things get really emotional within aviation. This is where someone has traveled to the to the airport, and their flight has been cancelled, the flight has been delayed, or you could have certain things going wrong within that journey itself. And there we have to have what you find is the conversations are longer, and it's a lot harder to resolve because they're actually in the environment themselves. Then you've got your post-flight. Now in Europe, this actually makes up about 40% of my contacts, or actually did, and we're reducing now. We have a huge compensation legislation in place called EU 261, which means that any flight that is delayed on where it's agreed that is Easyjet's kind of issue, where we've delayed that flight over 3 hours, you have to pay between £250 and £400 compensation. Now, obviously, customers have got to know this, and it's how we manage this and make that journey as easy as possible for them. Within that, we have 2 key systems. We have our reservation system and our CRM. And then underpinning that, and the reason I'm telling you this is just how the journey kind of is exposed. Training, normal training, quality and planning governance. Then our vendor management performance team and our continuous improvement team, which is critical to what I'm trying to do with transition. This is where we bring in new technology. This is where all of our new platforms coming and how our integration works. The continuous improvement also, which has been very important over the last year, has been about redefining process. Where we're a non-refundable airline, a year ago, we didn't perform refunds. Now we have to, you know, you're talking 9 million in the last kind of 6 months, and there's a lot of new process and a lot of focus on the operation, which ultimately we need to get right so that people want to travel with us as government rules and traffic light systems or whatever is in place and biosecurity starts opening up. We need to make sure that that operation is running there and people can have faith and have a lot of, and we receive a lot of brand advocacy. So our vision is very simple as this. We have our best digital platforms. We've got an award-winning app, and that works very, very well. We get a lot of kind of a lot of kudos back through the app itself. However, there's still not that linkage that sits between it. There's still not a lot of data that actually feeds into that app at the moment to make sure that we can personalize more and more. Obviously, our frontline people are really, really important. And again, our cabin crew are, I would like to say, one of the best in the world, and they really do things, I would say, differently. And then it falls into kind of with the app, we then look at this no nonsense disruption. Again, those of you that fly, which I'm sure is a lot of you, you know that is incredibly painful, and really trying to take the pain out of disruption management. And then for me, it's effortless resolution. So this is where, if you need to contact me, I make sure that the information that I get from that very old legacy system, from the CRM, and all of that is combined to enable me to be able to resolve you, whether you come through a automated channel like a chatbot or an IVR, or through to an agent, an assisted agent, 75% of the time. And I think in aviation, that's quite a high target. Okay, and making sure everyone's thinking customer and the usage of our data, whether that be for value-based purposes or for resolution-based purposes, is appropriate and leads to us being able to either take cost out or increase revenue. So if I take with Fanny, who spoke before, I think his model is probably better explaining this, but this is much more of an operational lower level, I would suggest. What I've brought in over the last couple of years is I've brought essentially what I have is a singular chatbot that sits on the top that feeds my omni-channel approach is very much between the IVR and the chatbot. Both get fed exactly the same data, and is able to answer exactly the same questions, whether you're adding a bag, adding a seat, or having to manage disruption. That we try to resolve within that platform at the moment about 50%. As if it cannot be resolved in that platform, we then pass over to an assistance agent, whether that be in one of the languages, let's say in Cape Town. Within the agent there, so what I think is key with what we do, we make then sure that our agents can almost predict what that customer is needing to do. So they would have obviously the transcript from the previous conversation, but they would also have a next best action, not necessarily a revenue development, cross upsell opportunity, but it could be a next best action to solve a complaint. So we would always be trying to funnel those through, and that has intelligence that sits behind it to make sure that we keep improving those complaint resolution options to the agent. I then have a kind of a value-based segmentation piece in there, which a lot of telcos probably have, and I've tried to kind of incorporate this here. So we have a couple of right the way through if you're a lower value, a newer customer, you would be fed more automation. But as you become a more kind of experienced customer with Easyjet, we then try and treat it more white glove, more concierge. Okay. So at the moment, where we are at the moment, I've been able to get that platform in. Now, where it is for me is being able to change my booking system to be enable me to really predict that customer contact and almost go out there via the app, via the IVR, via the chatbot, and really try and bring those in, and then obviously to incorporate messaging platforms as we go through. Currently at 63%, so we're starting to make some progress. Now, the output from this for me, when I started 5 years ago, customer service or customer management, we're now called, it was at around kind of 49% CSAT, with I would say most of the other channels kind of being very far ahead from us. What we've been able to do with this platform in place is really turn that on its head by that focus on resolving customers, that effortless resolution, and we're now kind of ahead of that onboard experience. And I think hopefully as we start going to recovery mode from COVID, we're going to retain that, and it's going to really help with both understanding our voice of our customer and being that differentiator in the market where it's absolutely needed to be. This is a part about cost. As I'm starting to kind of move away from standard voice channels into chat and automation, it shows here that there is quite a significant reduction in cost. For me, I'm saving around £2 million a year in my operating cost just by migrating more to assistants and more to chat channel. And I think, again, going back to what the other guys were saying, is making sure that we are scalable for the future, so we don't have to keep doing transformations. This is just an ongoing journey. We don't push a channel onto customers. It's their channel of choice. And we just keep driving loyalty, personalization, and more automation where it suits the customer. And that's pretty much where we are. Okay, and back to you.